Baki Rahen has now been going on for over 1 year. The 6th part of the Baki series reached 27 chapters in that time, meaning around 2 chapters every month. So here is everything that happened in the last year of Baki. Chapter 1. Jack Hanma vs the deadliest swordsman in Japan. No, not Masashi Miyamoto, he's still gone, but the guy he also clowned on at the start of his arc, showing that even 2 manga series later, Chapter 1 of Rahen had mention of our legendary samurai. Alongside the reveal of Jack Hanma's height and weight, that being 2.43 meters and 211 kilograms, roughly 7'9", and the battle between Gao Dao and the deadly sword, which proved right away the might of the martial art known as the way of fighting. Chapter 2 begins with us cutting back 11 years ago when Jack Hanma was still a kid, and this being the youngest we've ever seen him in the story, spending his time protecting Jesus within this church and revealing his wish to be strong, to be the strongest creature alive, highlighting that it was more than a simple dream or wish, it was a goal that he pushed himself far beyond his limits to achieve, even as a young kid, highlighting Jack Hanma's unmatched determination and potential lifelong impact he's caused to his body via doing this. We also get mention of his next major fight, that being against Kosho Shinogi, the cord cutter. Now chapter 3 was dedicated to a sparring match between Doppo Orochi and Kosho, highlighting that the cord cutter has improved by quite a bit since the last time we saw him, being capable of injuring Doppo Orochi, who recently in the story got thicker than ever before and defeated one of the sumo boys, alongside Katsumi needing to stop this fight as it was about to become more than simple sparring, while Doppo makes it clear to both of them that a fight with Jack might just go beyond any war, highlighting the dangers of facing a beast like that. Chapter 4 was very interesting. We had a return of a character from Grabber Baki, that being this guy known as Hanada, now looking like this, showing an interaction between him and Hanayama, which eventually leads into them fighting one another. Hanayama went for a kick to test him out that was able to slightly cut Hanada and definitely wake him up, followed by the build up of his Giga Punch. An attack that often stuns people facing it, but Hanada was able to actually counter it and slam Hanayama on his face, bringing us to chapter 5, where we see that this attack actually knocked out Hanayama, or at the very least knocked him down for a brief moment, allowing Hanada to actually escape, which is pretty goofy, but it left Hanayama quite stunned. We then cut to Jack Hanma, who's having a meal with Tokugawa, talking about Kosho Shinogi and how Jack pretty much doesn't really remember him or consider him a major threat. He isn't someone Jack particularly called out in the previous manga, meaning he's probably not all that serious about it. We also see Hanada talking to his former master Motobe, and then the arrival of Shinogi to those two, leading to the setup of a sparring match between the cord cutter and the returning Hanada. Chapter 6 reveals that Kosho wants this fight to be live combat, not sparring, and Hanada accepts, with the first few exchanges highlighting that Kosho has a slight advantage, but concludes with Hanada getting fully serious. Chapter 7 features the cord cutter going for more attacks that Hanada is barely able to dodge, and he's definitely getting overwhelmed somewhat. He tries to land the same counter that worked on Hanayama previously, but Kosho was able to escape it without really any damage, with us then realizing that Hanada has actually sustained a lot of damage from the cord cutter, bleeding all around his body, alongside a lot of yapping between these two considering it's meant to be live combat, leading into Motobe to step in, claiming that this has gone beyond sparring, leading Hanada to say to him this was meant to be live combat, with the insults coming out. Motobe disagrees and claims that this isn't live combat, while chapter 8 brings us something incredible. We cut to somewhere else where we see 2 monsters walking in the street together. That's right, Jack Hanma and the Ogre together and actually talking in a chill manner. Jack Hanma claims that his abilities have finally caught up with my body, leading Yujiro to say that it's not perfect, but you're getting there. Alongside referencing a quote by Miyamoto, one should seek foremost to position oneself above the enemy, talking about height, the second mention of Miyamoto in Baki Rahen so far, and how there's obvious issues with this approach, but Yujiro can't bring himself to dislike it, alongside claiming, in the history of those who sought to be the strongest, you alone have set foot into the true world of fighting, you have a rare purity. That's right, Yujiro Hanma showing respect to his other son Jack Hanma, the biting cyborg, for the first time in the Baki series in chapter 8 of Rahen, Crazy Times. Chapter 9 has us cutting to Kosho chilling with his brother the Doctor, showing him training for his upcoming fight against Jack Hanma, and focusing more so on gymnast moves, claiming that martial artists are far too sloppy. This is due to their precision of offense and defensive tactics and their lack of ability to move in mid-air, highlighting the expertise of gymnasts in this regard and going down that path to deal with someone like Jack, who Kosho views as neither an athlete nor martial artist, but a beast equipped with a keen intellect, while his brother doesn't make it sound too good for him, claiming as long as you come back alive, I can definitely treat you, which to me low-key makes me think he doesn't believe his brother stands a chance against Jack, which is probably for good reason, as Shinogi is the guy that's been giving Jack his height lengthening surgeries throughout the series, and is probably well aware of Jack's true power compared to a lot of the other characters due to their close relationship since the Maximum tournament. We also have Hanada being more of a goon talking with Tokugawa now. Chapter 10 features the final build up before the fight begins, showing Jack taking all of his special medicines before going out and claiming to this dude that it's not something to be proud of. If something can make me stronger, I'll use it. And if the side effects of using such a thing results in the end of him, then his body was simply weak, end of story. Highlighting to everyone what Jack's all about, while Kosho is doing his last preparation alongside Hanada, I guess being his trainer at this point, bros is everywhere. Concluding chapter 10 with the reveal that Baki Hanma is here watching the fight alongside Hanayama and a few others. Chapter 11 has the official walkout and heist revealed once again. We see that Jack Hanma isn't particularly ready for the fight, looking down on Kosho once again, turning his back as the fight officially begins to take his shirt off, pretty much giving Kosho a chance to land some blows. Chapter 12 highlights the damage Jack has sustained, bleeding all around his body, but still not really phased by the cord cuts. We have Baki reveal that Kosho has grown, indeed he's stronger and much sharper now, with even more deadly weapons. Jack proceeds to take his striking stance, getting ready to fight Kosho for real now. However, the initial jabs are dodged, alongside the follow-up kick that has Kosho leaping into the air, showing the benefits of his gymnast training to land a direct kick on Jack, who proceeds to shake Kosho's hand for some reason, more so in a trolling manner, saying that his hand is soft, followed by landing a direct bite with Kosho being unable to do anything. Chapter 13 has us cut back to the past, 564 BCE, during the ancient Greek Olympics, where we see where biting was first used in an official match, and how the current day it remains, with Jack Hanma taking a big chunk out of Kosho's shoulder, while maintaining the handshake in more so a trolling manner, looking down on him once again. The cord cutter is pretty much done with what happens and probably the pain as well, allowing Jack to land a chokehold while taking his back, preparing to choke Kosho unconscious. However, before he succeeds in that regard, Jack decides to let go and land another deadly bite. Chapter 14 shows us that Bro is not looking too good after those two bites, with Jack proceeding to land more blows to beat him down, and then slamming his foot on Kosho's neck, which to many of us at the time thought actually killed him, but no, Kosho still managed to survive and begin standing up. Jack decides to be a nice guy and bend down to say to him, "Let's end this now while you're still breathing," but Kosho isn't about that at all, landing a direct cord cut, taking the sight away from one of Jack's eyes, who responds with another bite on his bicep, revealing to us in chapter 15 that the amount of blood Kosho has lost is far too much, resulting in him falling unconscious and Jack to win the fight. And while being taken away by the medical team, Kosho claims that Jack Hanma's Gaudo is the best. In all of martial arts history, there is truly none greater, telling Jack to come closer to him, where he whispers in his ear or tries to bite off Jack's ear to conclude their interaction, while Jack soaks up the cheers of everyone in the arena while not being able to see it, unfortunately, due to the cord cuts in the fight. Chapter 16 shows that Kosho, yes, is greatly injured from the fight, but is going to be fine, talking about his fighting style compared to Jack's, and even makes a comparison to Yujiro Hanma, saying that Jack Hanma's resolve is so great that perhaps not even the Ogre could match it, which is a wild claim but absolutely hyped for what's coming next. Chapter 17, the ultimate instigator trying to bait Baki into fighting Jack, saying, up against Jack Hanma, would even Baki Hanma have a hope of winning? With Baki noticing how Jack is more so absorbing the cheers after winning all these fights, and more so wanting to get the respect from everyone or the recognition, especially from Yujiro Hanma, no matter the cost. We see that Katsumi and Doppo are always in their dojo talking about Jack, and how Gao Dao, the way of abiding, just started up recently, and how could something like that match the history of karate? And then something crazy. We cut to Yujiro's main living area in Japan, I guess, this Giga Hotel, where we see him and Jack Hanma about to dine. Chapter 18 shows this, Jack Hanma having his first ever toast, first time experiencing food like this, and the Ogre claiming that you're far better than Baki, of course talking about knowing how to use a knife and fork as he grew up in Canada, unlike Baki, who's been mostly alone in Japan vibing. Chapter 19 has more of the feast, with Jack questioning why Yujiro invited him here, who tries to disregard it, saying there's nothing strange about this, just a father inviting his son to dinner, similar to what Baki did in the earlier mangas when having dinner with Yujiro. This is followed by Jack questioning if Yujiro is a normal father, and then just outright saying this, forget father, even as a human, actually, even as a living thing, you're not normal, with the raider making his leave, and then we know what comes next. The Ogre's hair begins to rise, his crazy aura begins to go everywhere, he tells Jack to stand up and get what he's really after, who more so responds in a trolling manner, questioning what he's really after, and that Yujiro is the one that really wants this. No bell, no referee, the moment one of us moves, it begins. Chapter 20 continues with this idea, Jack expressing that Yujiro is the one that wants this fight more than Jack, and questions if the strongest creature alive is really hesitating, and makes a joke that he's really reached that level, of course talking about the strongest creature alive caliber. This results in the Ogre laughing like a maniac, and in a similar scene to what we got with Baki, the Ogre streams attention that stuns Jack, followed by a slap as more show punishment, resulting in a single tear leaving Jack's eyes. In chapter 21, we see that the slap sent Jack flying into the window, but he didn't go through it like Baki in the past. This is because the hotel staff had made some adjustments after the previous situation, and while this is being explained to the Ogre, we see that Jack is just admiring the view, while also overhearing his father claim that falling 40 floors wouldn't have killed Jack, which results in him to get out, thank his father for the kind words, thank him for the dinner, and make his leave, looking back at the skyscraper when he's on the ground floor and being like, if I had fallen from the top floor, I would have completely ruined the pavement, and that would not be good, bro is still trolling. Now chapter 22 reveals what Pickle was doing. We see him walking around the streets, being a little bit of a nasty boy, but he does have that peak level homeless drip, while also revealing to us that Pickle more so eats really any animal at this point, and then it happens. We see Jack and Tokugawa in the street where Pickle notices them right away. The biting cyborg proceeds to hug the dino boy, claiming that he's been thinking about Pickle, and that he's the one who made Jack who he is today after their crazy battles during the Pickle arc, which forced him to accept defeat in the most wild way we've ever seen, with Jack revealing that he wants to hear Pickle cry out and to see his expression twist as he's filled with despair, similar to what Jack felt after facing defeat by the hands of Pickle back then. Bro wants revenge. Alongside that, in chapter 23, we see Pickle's hair actually rise up, highlighting his interest and want to fight Jack, or maybe something else, as the second Jack turned his back to him, Pickle went for the bite. Then in chapter 24, we get it highlighted that Jack wasn't really fazed by Pickle here, joking around a little bit and then getting out of Pickle's hold without any trouble, proceeding to land this giga punch that definitely left a lasting impact on Pickle, who's bleeding all over as well. And before it can continue, we have Hanayama get in between these two, telling them to call it a day. The reasoning is revealed in chapter 25, where Hanayama claims that this is his turf, a place where he can't ignore a fight like this. Pickle is looking at Hanayama in shock and recognizes him from the past, viewing him as this dinosaur, and has a similar pushing exchange as more so a greeting between the two, which is pretty cool. We then have the first ever interaction between Jack and Hanayama in the entire Baki series, where we learn that Jack doesn't even know who Hanayama is, which is kinda crazy, but low-key makes sense considering various moments where they just missed one another, or they were unconscious, or just didn't really meet properly for the first time. This moment can also be used as the setup we need for a future fight between Jack and Hanayama, as throughout this interaction we have Jack recognize that Hanayama is indeed very special, and that regardless of his physical stature being far larger than the likes of Hanayama, he demonstrates no sign of fear, with Jack claiming that he's never met someone like this before, with him proceeding to take his leave as we get the final setup for the fight between Jack and Pickle. Chapter 26 proceeds to cut to Tokigawa, who's talking again with Baki, questioning him about this upcoming fight and who he favors between Jack and Pickle, where Baki reveals in terms of biting strength they're about even, but in other aspects such as basic strength, toughness, and even fighting spirit, which is a wild claim, Pickle by a mile, but makes it clear that it was then talking about Pickle vs Jack from the past, and that currently Jack's purity when it comes to the pursuit of strength has increased so much that it's really up in the air. This is a battle between ancient and modern purity, which one will come out on top, with us then cutting to Pickle, who's waiting in the underground arena and thinking about actually consuming all of Jack, while also recognizing that if he waits here, Jack will eventually arrive for their fight. We then have Baki arrive with a fun little greeting between these two, who are pretty much friends at this point, and then something wild happens. Pickle repeats Baki's word, "do it," which leaves him stunned, bringing us to the final chapter of the last year of Baki Rahen 27, where we get to confirm that Pickle is indeed speaking, repeating Baki's word when he said Jack with a smile on his face. We don't know if he understands what he's saying, which I personally doubt, but the fact that he's reached this point is pretty wild. Everyone watching enters the arena. Jack has his pre-fight medication and reveals that he's going to fight Pickle wearing a similar outfit to what his brother does when he's serious in fights. We get Jack Hanma's height and weight revealed, which is indeed the same as chapter 1 in Rahen. He hasn't grown since then, but he's indeed larger than Pickle, who's claimed here as over 2 meters and over 130 kilograms. The fact that it isn't outright confirmed exactly means we don't really know Pickle's confirmed size, but based on their physical portrayals, he is indeed shorter than current Jack. Now, before the fight can officially start, Pickle charges and Jack defends himself with the towel wrapped around his shoulders. 2 fouls to begin this crazy battle. Therefore, I think I've made it clear that the last year of the Baki manga has been absolutely wild,